Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good Monday afternoon, First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you this afternoon. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. I hope that you were able to stay warm. It was a cold and frigid weekend, but thankfully we are going to be tracking those temperatures to be moving out of town here for us. So we have some good news in that forecast for today. We're also going to be kind of updating us after we had, for some of us, maybe a snowy commute into work. A lot of that snow is wrapped up, so we're going to have a radar update, talk about our snow chances. The big story this week is going to be our temperatures, because we have those climbing, and then they're also then going to be falling. So we do have some ice concerns that are going to be in the forecast. So there's still a lot to happen, even if we don't have too many big systems here this week, but there's still enough that we need to first alert you to a couple of weather tidbits in the forecast. But before we dive into the forecast, I do want to share a story. So I went and spoke with the folks at Mount Holly Ski Resort in Holly, and they are definitely enjoying this early start to the season regarding the snow. I was wondering if maybe it's a little bit earlier than what it has been in previous years. So I put this story together, and hopefully this kind of maybe gets you into the mood of doing some winter sports. I know that those are pretty popular here in the state of Michigan. So we are going to be looking at hopefully a more snowy forecast, so we can really get to enjoying the winter season that typically has to offer. But hopefully this kind of gets you into the spirit to get out there and hit the slopes. The slopes are groomed for a new season as winter has been off to a strong start.
Demand's very good. When people have natural snow in their yards, which we've had for an extended period now for a week or 10 days, it really gets people thinking about it.
Kurt Payne, the ski school instructor at Mount Holly, says they are open a few weeks early this year compared to last season.
It's a fairly early open date for us. Every season's different. The weather's up and down here in Michigan, and we might get a cold spell. And with the snowmaking capacity that we have here, with a few nights of cold weather, we're able to get open.
Mount Holly uses snow guns to supplement Mother Nature's snowfall and maintain the slopes.
While the natural snow always helps, we typically rely mostly on man-made snow. We're able to get it down faster than Mother Nature as soon as the temps are available. So we typically rely on a lot of man-made snow.
Even the temperatures and humidity affect the ability to make snow.
Usually it needs to get below about 27 degrees before the mixture of temperature and humidity gets right. And anything colder than that, it just gets better.
The snowmaking team also considers wind direction with the placement of snow guns around the trees in the terrain.
And we work really, really hard to provide the best snow we can make, and we're one of the best around.
Payne is optimistic for the rest of the season.
With a head start like this, the amount of snow we've been able to make, I think that everything's going to happen just like it's supposed to and turn out to be a great season. The more winter it is, the more we like it.
A special thanks to Kurt for helping us out with that story and kind of updating us on how the season has been going. Of course, he's been working there for quite a few decades, and so he said that, of course, we've had openings that have been in early November. He was mentioning last year that they were open by Christmas time, so they're very thankful to have kind of that boost from Mother Nature. Of course, as he had mentioned also, they really rely on the snow machines or snow guns to make snow, because that just kind of gets everything going a little bit maybe more frequently than what Mother Nature can provide on the snow part of things. But of course, always having fresh snow is always welcome. Of course, there's a lot of ski resorts that are all across the state, so I'm sure a lot of them have really been enjoying here this early start and kind of jump to the season as we've had some great weather. I know there's also been a lot of people doing some snowmobiling and maybe ice fishing. We've had the cold air, but we are a little bit worried about ice safety still, so we will have an update on that coming up. But again, we want to thank Kurt for helping us out with that story, and we will be taking a look, hopefully maybe at some other stories that we can do here going through the winter season. But as we switch gears, we're going to take one quick minute break, and we are going to be right back to talk about your First Alert forecast. right, we are going to dive right into that first alert forecast, starting with this live look outside here in Birch Run. We are going to be looking at not a lot of snow coming down. Now, we did have some snow earlier this morning, making maybe roadways a little bit slippery, kind of slimy feeling. I know when I was feeling those roadways while driving around, I noticed I couldn't turn as fast as I normally do. So, of course, still exercise that caution outside because it's cold, and after we picked up some of that snow, you still can run into some icy spots. And with it still just kind of being locked into that cold air, we still can have some slick conditions. It's just kind of been something that we've been first alerting you to here for a while, but it just kind of comes with the winter territory that it is possible that we're maybe not driving as fast as what we usually are. Now, when we look at our temperatures today, we still have a cold one in place for you because our temperatures are only in the mid to upper teens. We are currently sitting at about 15 degrees here in Standish and Gladwin. We're at 17 in Saginaw, 20 degrees though for Flint and Owasso. We have 19 in Mount Pleasant, 20 degrees in Bad Axe, 16 in Tawas, and 20 degrees for Port Hope and in Harbor Beach. So we are getting into some of those 20s, but not only is the air temperature a little bit cooler, but we have the wind to consider. So thankfully it is coming out of the southwest. That helps to kind of at least bring in some more mild air, but it's still pretty cold. But at least that southwest wind is actually helping to kind of lift that cold Arctic air from the weekend, get it out of here, because we are going to be finding that wind chills are definitely a factor. But right now, our sustained winds, we are seeing those around 10 to 15, getting up at times towards 20 miles per hour. So it's not necessarily really gusty, but it is breezy outside, and it just kind of adds that little extra bite and cold feeling to the air, because when we look at our feels like temperature, so this would be your wind chill outside, it feels like it's about 1 degree there at MBS Airport in Freeland, 2 at Brown Airport in Saginaw. Feels like it's 7 degrees outside in Flint, Owasso, and Port Hope. In Standish, it feels like we're 1 below, and then we have 2 below in Clare. So there's definitely some spots that are really feeling the cold air, but simply when we were looking at single digits and even some of us to be in the negatives, everybody is feeling the cold air here this afternoon. So still need those winter coats. Those are not going back into the closet anytime soon, even though we do have a little bit of a warm up in the forecast. We are going to be finding our temperatures do climb back up above freezing. We're going to be tracking that as we go into your Wednesday, but check out Thursday. We have highs around 42 degrees. So that is going to be really kind of a big change of pace. And also when we have those 40s, we also have some rainfall that's going to be coming with it. So that's kind of our big system for the week. Very much a manageable one, but something to keep in mind. Let's look at Friday. That high's at 20 degrees. That means that we're going to kind of do a flash freeze. So once that rain comes down, the ground's going to be wet, roads are going to be wet, and then that cold air comes in and kind of ices everything over. It's like something out of the movies, we could almost say. So that's what we're going to be watching going into our Friday morning. So we'll be first alerting you to that commute. But starting out here now, no rain on radar, still picking up on some snow. We've been seeing that snow mainly across the northern portion of the lower peninsula, just coming in towards Roscommon and Ogama and even northern Gladwin counties. Even our friends in West Michigan, they're also seeing a little bit of that snow activity, but we'll zoom in here to our neighborhood. So yes, you can see that we do have that snow here for Roscommon, Ogama counties. Not a lot happening here in the Vehicle City or in Saginaw, and even across the Thumb, pretty quiet since that morning snow that's been gone here for a couple of hours now. So overall conditions are looking quite favorable for us to be looking at our roadways to be much improved potentially than what the morning commute was for some folks. But again, you still can pick up on some snowflakes. It's just a few snow showers that we are watching here for the afternoon. When we go through the hour-by-hour forecast, you are going to be seeing that it still kind of keeps some of these snow showers in. There's just a little bit of a boundary, but it doesn't survive all that well. So again, for the evening commute, not really too many weather concerns that we're going to be watching out for as we get into that time frame. During the night, also not a lot to report here. We'll take a quiet forecast. That means some easy sleeping weather. So out the door Tuesday morning, not anticipating that you're going to need extra time with this commute, because we are going to be finding that our temperatures actually try to dip a little bit on the warmer side. So we will see that we have plenty of cloud cover, but those clouds not carrying any precipitation with us. So still much of our Tuesday kind of dry, but I am watching across our northern counties. We do have a chance for some freezing drizzle, and typically the hour-by-hour forecast really kind of struggles when we have that freezing drizzle, kind of mist fog rain that goes on, and then it coats the ground and even our car windshields. So you can see here around 2-3 o'clock, right there around Houghton Lake and even Oscoda, that we start to see some pink showing up. So that's where we're going to start to see that signal across our most northern counties that we are picking up on that potential for that freezing drizzle. So that means that roadways are going to be slippery as that comes through, and we'll have a couple of hours where we're tracking that, because we're still going to be seeing that possibility through the 5 and 6 o'clock hours. So if maybe your commute takes you north, just keep in mind that we are going to be tracking that mainly across our northern tier of counties. I still, though, don't want to rule out northern Aranac and Gladwin counties that we could still pick up some of that precipitation, and even in Clare as well, because we are going to find that we have that cloud cover that's kind of sitting there. So that allows us to then have that chance for that drizzle to come through. So just something to keep in mind for your Tuesday evening plans. So if maybe you have the work Christmas party that night, or if you still have some Christmas shopping to do, or maybe it's the school program, we are going to be looking at conditions that are looking potentially a little bit icier further north. Now, the further south you are, maybe Saginaw, Flint, really that threat of that freezing drizzle, not picking that up further south. That's mainly going to be for our northern counties, but still, it's something to keep an eye to if we see any changes in the forecast. That should start to dry out as we go into the evening. You'll see plenty of cloud cover Tuesday night, and then going into Wednesday morning, still not a lot happening. I'd be mindful, especially for folks driving 75. Maybe you're going north, you're going to be headed south. You still could run into some slick roadways, especially some of the rural and maybe residential roadways could still be a little slippery from the evening freezing rain drizzle that we have further north. So that is just something to watch out for going into Wednesday morning. But beyond that, it doesn't look like too much is going to be impacting your regularly scheduled programming of your life, because we are going to be finding that our Wednesday overall is pretty quiet in the forecast. Still, though, with it being winter, the clouds are here, so there's not a ton of sun in the first alert forecast. But as I mentioned, kind of that Tuesday evening threat, it's only that small window into the evening that we do have that freezing rain chance. So it's more going to be like a drizzle and into that rain, but it is the possibility that we do see some slick spots. So that means that you can have that light glazing. I like to call it like a bathroom glass, to where it's really hard to see through, but yet it's clear. So we have that chance of seeing that glazing happen on our cars, our roadways. So just know that those are going to be the main impacts. I don't see enough ice here for us to really have power concerns. And thankfully that window is pretty small, but it is still something to keep in mind for drivers that are going to be driving. And that also, the reason that we have that freezing rain is because our temperatures going into Tuesday are kind of hovering right around the freezing mark. So as that rain falls, or even that snow falls in the higher portions of the atmosphere, it kind of hits a warm layer and then it quickly freezes right at the bottom. So that's how we kind of get that coating, is that it falls like rain, but then a lot of times the surface is colder, so that's how it coats. So that's why when we see these temperatures trying to warm back up to actually be above average, that's how we're kind of ending up with maybe an icy mess in between for a few of us. And going into Wednesday, though, we will start to see some of our snow melt away, because temperatures are going to be into the mid-30s, and then we have 40s coming into Thursday. So that's really when we're going to see a lot of snow melt, plus the rainfall coming through. I know a lot of folks were wondering the chances of a white Christmas, so we are still watching that. There's still a lot that can happen between now and then, but seeing this warm up is not really helping the cause. But as I had mentioned, we have that temperature drop going into Friday. So with us picking up on that rainfall on Thursday, we are first alerting you that icy conditions are going to be possible Friday morning, because that's when those temperatures just crash, and then they're going to fall below the freezing mark, kind of glazing and icing everything over. So just something to kind of keep in mind, because we're going to have plenty of water available. We'll have all that cold air. So we all know that water and cold air typically sets us up for some icy conditions. Also, speaking of ice, just kind of giving us an update on the bay. So we've been looking at some pretty good ice here throughout the inner bay, and some of that really starting to grow into the outer bay. But we are finding that that gray shading that we're seeing here, it's stretching in from about Bay City through Sebewaing. This used to be red, and that was meaning some good ice coverage, but now we are seeing that that has broke apart a little bit, and it's called fast ice. So we are going to be watching for some ice stability issues going here through the week with temperatures warming. That's also not a big help for us here. So if you are going to be going out on the ice, make sure you are very cautious. Let your friends and family know that you are going to be out there, where you're going to be. We've already heard of multiple ice rescues across the state. So even if you're snowmobiling over ponds or creeks, make sure you're just kind of maybe avoiding those, because the ice thickness, though we don't really have a lot of map data out yet, that means that we really probably don't have that thick of ice. But also, if you do have an ice shanty that's already out there on the water, or the ice, I should say, you'll want to bring that in here for the later portions of this week, as temperatures are going to warm up. Plus, we'll also have southerly winds that can kind of push that broken ice around on the bay. So something to kind of keep in mind is that that ice flow setup is something that we'll be watching here later this week. But the cold air does come back as we go and look at that 7-day forecast. You'll see that the cold air is here by Friday, and still even into the weekend, we're kind of hovering right around freezing. It's not as cold maybe as what the last couple of days have been, but we are still going to be finding that we do have a more winter seasonal kind of forecast, but maybe not as frigid, and definitely not the Arctic air that we had over the weekend. And now also, we are going to be first alerting you to that drizzle again Tuesday evening in our northern counties. Wednesday is dry, and then Thursday is kind of our rainy day. So make sure you kind of mark Thursday as a day to keep an eye on, because it'll be rainy, it'll be windy, it'll be kind of uncomfortable outside. Overall, it is going to be manageable, but it's just going to be uncomfortable. But as we go into Friday, we'll have that cold air come in. That sets up lake effect. We'll still carry some of that into Saturday. And then Sunday, we have the solstice. So we are going to be going into astronomical winter. Of course, meteorological winter started on December 1st, but we are going to find that we have the shortest day of our daylight coming in on Sunday. Already our sunset time is still right at about 5 o'clock. It was at about 4:59, but we are still losing that time on the first half of our day. So that sunset time continues to still kind of tick a little bit later into the 8 o'clock hour. But then starting on Monday, we're going to start to bring you back a little more daylight. It'll only be a second or two, but maybe you'll notice it. But it's at least something, if you like maybe some of those longer days, a little more daylight coming in, or at least kind of rounding that corner to kind of get there. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. I know seasonal depression might be something that's a little bit troublesome. So again, make sure you're talking to your friends, your family, your doctor. Take care of yourself. The weather might not always be the most friendly for a little bit of self-care, but it's always good to do a little bit of self-care so that we're feeling good about everything. And now we are going to be going and taking another look at that 7-day forecast. So make sure you tune in to the TV5 News at 4. Colette has the latest headlines. I'll have your latest First Alert forecast. And then tonight at 9 o'clock, First Alert Chief Meteorologist Chris Eastlick will be back here at the First Alert desk to update you on still that freezing drizzle chance going into Tuesday evening and further north, and even what our temperatures look like here for the rest of the week. But thank you so much for hanging out with me this afternoon. I will be right back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock for another weather chat. So hopefully we'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.